Hi everyone. For those of you who were waiting, um, that musical accompaniment was done live by Mabby's. So, um, before I get the stream started, I wanted to ask people about language. Recently, we have been doing streams in English, but I wanted to check with people who were more comfortable in Japanese. ちょっと日本語で続きたいと思いますが、最近英語のみの配信をしてますけど、日本語の方がいいっていうの邪魔がいらっしゃると思いますので、どっちの方がいいのかをちょっと最初に確認したいと思います。日本語か英語かどっちの方がいいですか？チャットでちょっともし意見があればぜひぜひチャットで書いてみてください。So if you have a preference for either English or Japanese, please feel free to type it in the chat. Because I wanted to be inclusive of both Japanese and English speakers. Okay. I see some either or. I know for the most part we've been doing stuff in English. But seriously, at any time, if you have any questions and my English is too fast, feel free to stop me. I'm more than happy to explain it in Japanese, in English, and my Spanish is terrible, but I'll try. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the last session of the mentor sessions this week in preparation for Global Game Jam 2023. My name is CJ, and I am a co-organizer of the site along with Josiah and somebody you probably haven't met yet, Honami-san. But she's been sending you emails if you're registered for the Jam site. So I thought that we could spend some time today talking a little bit about Ren'Py. And specifically, I'm going to be tailoring this session to people who are artists who are maybe a little bit afraid of code, because I know that the last two sessions we had were very technical, working in tools that are very complex. I find Unity to be very complex. Pico 8's a little bit, I would say, less complex, but some of the main interface is programming languages. So for people who are worried about programming, I want to show you Ren'Py, and I also want to show you how I do code. And for people who are programmers, it may not be pretty, but I'll continue in this way. I just wanted to share that with everybody, that you don't have to be at a high level of programming to use Ren'Py. I also have I also was very afraid of coding once, and so I really understand what it's like to feel worried that your coding ability is not going to be enough. And so I wanted to assure you first and foremost that we're going to take it easy on this stream. I am going to show you how to make a very simple project in Ren'Py, and then we're going to start doing some customization. and I'll talk about where I got all of the assets. All of the things in what I'm about to show you is going to be from free assets that are downloaded off of itch. So all of this can be used 100% for free. I think I have my code up on GitHub public. I'm pretty sure I didn't put it private. So if you're interested in seeing it, I'll also link you to the repository as well. Cool. All right, let's get started. So what kind of game are we going to be building? Let me show you what we're going to be building today. A very simple, cute game. Hold on. Nice. We've got some little music going here. We have a sprite. We have some text. There's two girls talking about a chocolate banana place. Oh man, decisions. So this is implementing a basic choice in Ren'Py. Tokyo banana desu yo. It is. We're from Tokyo, so we're going to use Tokyo choco banana. Classic chocolate banana, strawberry and rainbow sprinkle banana, or wasabi banana. What do you think, Mabbies?
Ooh, strawberry and rainbow sprinkle.
Strawberry and rainbow sprinkle? Okay.
I can't pass up a good rainbow sprinkle.
Yeah, it's true. Oh, yeah. We're going to order the same one. That's right. And that's it. So that is the little small game that we're going to be implementing. In this, I'm going to break down each of the parts that we used. And first, I'm going to show you the tool that this was made in. Okay. So let me start by saying, oh, the wasabi choice is very funny too. Yeah. So let me start by saying, what is Ren'Py? And Ren'Py is a visual novel engine. It has been used for many different types of visual novels, and you can see Doki Doki Literature Club used it as well. And if you want to get started with this engine, you can. It runs on a lot of different platforms, so it's very versatile. There's a lot of people that use it, so you can download Ren'Py. I highly suggest downloading this new version of Ren'Py as opposed to the older version of Ren'Py, the heck freezes over version, because it's the newest one. So if we were to download it, we already have Ren'Py on our computer, because this is what it looks like when you open it. So that's the first thing we need, is we need Ren'Py. The second thing we need is a code editor. And I'm going to suggest using Visual Studio. I would normally use Atom, but Atom was recently, as of December 15th, sunsetted fully, meaning that it's no longer receiving updates. So I ended up switching to Visual Studio Code. Sublime Text is fine too, but for reasons which I will show you in a moment, I think that having Visual Studio Code is actually better for Ren'Py development. Cool. All right. So we have our Ren'Py novel, visual novel, and then we have this Visual Studio Code. So let's look at what the game script looks like, or what Visual Studio looks like when you open it. So this is what the code editor looks like. And this code editor has different tabs on the left-hand side. Explorer is going to be accessing your files. Search will be searching things. This is linked to GitHub, which I'll go over in a moment. You can run your files from here. Containers I don't use that much. And extensions. So let's talk about extensions, and the reason why I suggested Visual Studio is because if you search in the extension for Ren'Py, you'll see that there is an extension for Visual Studio for the Ren'Py language. What does that mean? Well, what that means is that it's going to highlight your code in a way that makes it really easy to read for Ren'Py. And the other thing that it will do is it will give you suggestions as you're starting to type for what are some potential like functions that you can use in Ren'Py. The other thing that I have found very, 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 very helpful that I don't mention here is that if you mess up something in your code, it will tell you, it will put a red line underneath it, and it will tell you exactly what seems to be the problem or what it thinks the problem is. So I find this really helpful for debugging Ren'Py. And it's a very visual update. Cool. Alrighty. So this is what it looks like. This is what our script looks like when we have the Ren'Py extension activated here. And as you can see, I can actually use a color picker to pick my colors, which is pretty nice. Pretty nice. Okay, I said I was going to get back to this GitHub thing. So the reason why somebody would want to use GitHub, and again, I'm explaining this for people who have never used GitHub before, who have never touched GitHub before, is that GitHub allows us to do something that's known as version control. And version control is basically, I would call them backups for your code, basically. It allows you to put your code in what's known as a repository, which is a container. You can download it from anywhere. So let's say that you're working on, I'm working on my Windows machine right now, and I want to make changes on this Ren'Py game. I put it onto GitHub, and then it's already there ready for me on GitHub if I move over to my Mac. And so from there, all I have to do is I pull the latest changes from that GitHub repository, that container, into a file that's on my computer, and I can just continue working from where I left off. So this is very helpful. This is also helpful when you're working with large groups of people, or just in general groups of people. For instance, if, say, in your jam team, you are working on implementing the programming part of the game, then and someone else is drawing character sprites, then you may want to tell them, okay, here's what the recent GitHub is, and what I want you to do is I want you to make your own edits into this GitHub, and then we'll merge, which means put together my edits and your edits together. So it's very, very helpful for working with a jam. So how you set up GitHub. Mine is already set up right now, and typically if it's not set up, there should be a little guide here to walk you through it. pretty like it's pretty step by step. Like just follow the steps and you'll be able to get the get your GitHub connected. But first, you need to have a GitHub account. Second, you need to install or like install the ability for Git to be on your computer. If you have any troubles with this, feel free to ask myself or Matt or Josiah at the Game Jam. Okay. So far, I just want to check in with everyone. Are we good on that? It may also be that everybody already knows how to use GitHub and they're yelling at me to like, go faster. So yeah, feel free to let me know. So yes, that is GitHub. The other thing is there are, when you make a change, it'll show up here. And if you click this add button, it is now staging all of the changes, which means they're ready to go into or upload to the repository or the container. If you wanted to say updates, you put that up here and then you click this check mark and it is uploading to GitHub. And pretty soon, if I were to access GitHub, you could see my updated updates right now, which is pretty cool. So that is that's a very quick overview on how you use GitHub and why it's important to use GitHub. Also, there are so many Jam folks who try to wing it with stuff on their own computer and then their computer breaks down at the very last minute. It's so good to have a repository. Please use GitHub or some kind of version control. Cool. Alrighty. Right. So now that we've talked about configuring our VSCode so that it looks really nice, so that it's functioning well for us for Ren'Py, let's go into Ren'Py proper. So these two projects right here, the tutorial and the question, are pre-built Ren'Py projects that you can actually go into and look at and kind of take apart the code. I find this to be very helpful. For instance, let's just look at the tutorial here. Yeah, so this is what the basic Ren'Py interface looks like. This is the title screen. You see a character that's implemented. And they will show you the basics of Ren'Py in Ren'Py. Very cool. These are all the selections. We are not going to go through this tutorial because this is not what we're here for. But just so you know, you have this available to you at all time. All right, let's start by making our own project. What we're going to do is we're going to recreate this banana date project, and then I'm going to, if we have time, I'm going to show you how to make your own custom characters, troubleshoot the game, some quirks of Ren'Py, and also we're going to talk a little bit about scoping your game and designing interactive choices. Nice. If there's anything in particular that you're really interested to dig into right now, do let me know. And as I'm sort of covering how we're going to, how this project is going to work, then I will dig into those questions momentarily. Oh, not this one. Okay, so we're going to create a new project. English language project is okay. Global Game Jam streaming is okay. Typically 1920 by 1080 is good. I have tried to do a bigger size and then tried to change the GUI, but I am saying this is a generally a safe choice or safe bet. Okay. This is big decisions. All right, Nabbies. So we have a accent and background colors. What do we want our default colors to be? By the way, we can change them at any time, but these are just the default colors.
All right. I'm kind of into the green or the teal.
The teal?
Yeah.
You like that? Okay.
Yeah, teal.
Oh, hi, Exodrifter. Thank you for joining. All right. Let's go for teal. Do, do, do. Okay, cool. Now we have this Global Game Jam streaming thing. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to go into our Global Game Jam folder here that's already been selected in Explorer, and we see that we have a new folder. It's called Global Game Jam Streaming. Yes, that's a project that we opened before. And you can see this is the active project. Cool. Let's go into the games folder. And let's go into script.ren'py. There are different Ren'Py, there's different Ren'Py, how do I say, files. A quick overview is that this is going to affect the GUI. So the graphic user interface. This is going to affect the options in the game. I don't really touch this one that much, so I don't know that much about it. Screens are things that appear on the screen. So for instance, if you wanted to put a on-screen clock or something like that, this is the place that you would edit it. So something that allows like text to show up on the page, or how text shows up on the page. And script is going to be your main script. And this is the main thing that we're going to be touching here. So you notice here that we have a character. It is Eileen. And we... One sec. There it is. Okay. Eileen is sort of our like default character. It's Ren'Py's default character. And in our game, we have two characters. And those characters are Crystal and Sapphire. So we're gonna... And you can define any variable. This is called a variable. But I figured we'd just define C for Crystal because that's easy to type. And in order to introduce a new character, we're going to type character, Crystal. Nice. We have another character. Her name is Sapphire. And we're going to define her here. So now we have these two characters. These characters are not naturally going to show up on... not naturally going to show up on like the screen unless we call them. Right now we just have this idea that Sapphire is now represented by the letter S and Crystal is represented by the letter C. Okay, cool. You might have noticed that so if we don't say anything about this, these two characters are going to be the default color. So that's fine for now. So we have label start. It has already provided us like a scene BG room. We currently don't have an image right now for showing. So let's start with some dialogue. Okay. So now we have Crystal saying, hey, welcome to the game. And Sapphire saying, we're happy to have you. Cool. So let's take a look at this in Ren'Py and see what happens. You notice we have our little teal background. Let's start. All right, we have a background that is room. It's very plain. Eileen, that's very plain. But we also have this character named Crystal that says, welcome to the game. And Sapphire is also saying, we're happy to have you. Great. We just implemented dialogue in Ren'Py. Good job, everyone. Cool. All right. So the next thing that we're going to do is we're going to make a scene. Not a scene like, a scene. But
That's it.
That's it. I'm out of here. But we are going to make a scene, meaning we're going to define the background of the game. Okay. So I told you that all of the assets are free. And so I wanted to show you where I got the assets. I'm going to put this in the chat, but I got these assets through Norineko Games. And they have a really nice asset pack of anime backgrounds. They're just, like typical backgrounds that you might notice. They're done in sort of like a faux 3D style, which is fine for, some people like the more stylized. I would also say as an artist, if you feel comfortable, you can also try to draw on top of these. As always, give credit to them. Make sure that, Norineko is credited back on this because it's really nice that they put a asset pack out here. So I'm sending that in the chat. So that's where you can get some visual novel backgrounds for your game. Cool. So I've already downloaded one. You may notice it's this one that we're using for the visual novel background. So, and I already have it in this game folder. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, going to copy it into the images folder. Ta-da! Okay, so this is called Gao Gao Banana. So now that we have our image here, let's take a look at how we're going to add this. So first, what we have to do is similar to defining the characters. We have to define some kind of variable that holds this image. So let's define image shop. And what we're going to do is use this thing called IM scale. And basically what it is it's forcing this image to be this particular size. So we have a aspect ratio of 1980 by 1080, and we just want to force the image to be that aspect ratio to just make sure that that it's going to fit in that space. Okay. So as I said, 1920 by 1080. Okie dokie. So now that we've defined it as shop, we should call it scene shop. Easy peasy. Technically. Let's see. Oh, wow! There it is! There's our shop. So here it is. That's how you implement a background scene in Ren'Py. So cool. Now we have a background scene. The next thing that we want to do is we want to put in the characters, right? Everybody needs a good characters. So let me show you where I got the characters. I think that this is a super, super, super cool little character creation pack by Awfully Sweet. Or, my bad. The character creation pack is called Awfully Sweet. It's by ButteryMilk, that I will put a link to in the chat. If you get... if you pay for it, so there's a free version that has like a couple of options. If you pay for it, you have a lot of really, really, really cute options to kind of like play from. Again, please make sure that you comment. These files come in Photoshop and Clip Studio files, but you can also open Photoshop files in other programs as well. I used Affinity Photo to open up these layered files, and I was able to do that. So yes, please don't use this in any projects related to NFTs. Just visual novels, please. And as always, be sure to credit the artist, because they spent time and effort on that, and that's nice. All right, so I already have 2 in our game, so I'm just gonna pull them. There's Crystal. And there's Sapphire. All right, so they are here. All right, so just like before, we need to define some kind of variable and then also call that variable in the game. So let's do that. We use image. Crystal, and the good thing is that you can just say what the PNG is, and Ren'Py will go find it for you. So you don't necessarily have to say images Crystal Happy. It's quite, it's good that way. Cool. All right, so now we've defined these. Let me talk a little bit about the difference between scene and show. So scene, the command in Ren'Py, basically wipes everything from the screen and makes it so that it's the only image that's being shown. Show will layer images on top of images. So technically, I could change this to show, and it would be the exact same. It would be the exact same effect. The difference here is that it's very much like a Photoshop file, where if you continue calling show, it's just going to pile layer upon layer upon layer upon layer. And at some point, you're going to need to clear the scene. And if you have multiple like layers upon layers, there will be a point in time where your Ren'Py is just going to fail. Like, it's just going to crash. And so in order to make sure that we have a clean slate, we usually do something like scene when we're switching like to a particular scene. So for instance, if there's a scene jump to a classroom, we don't necessarily need the the other images underneath it. So we're just going to clear all the other images and then re-show only the images that we need. So that's the difference between scene and show. So for characters, we don't want to do scene because that's going to erase all the images and not show our, not have our shop. So we're going to use show. And if we show Crystal, let's say we're going to say, all right, we're going to show Crystal. And after her dialogue, we're going to show Sapphire. That should work, right? Let's check it out. Okay. So she says, hey, welcome to the game. Oh no, Sapphire's on top of her. That's a problem. We don't want people layered on top of each other. We want people to be shown at the right and the left. And so let's talk about how to move people to the right and the left. So it's very easy in Ren'Py. It's show Crystal at right. And so show Sapphire at left. And this is how you get two characters talking in a scene together. So now let's go back to launching the project again. Hey, welcome to the game. She is on the right-hand side, and now you can see the two of them together without them overlapping each other. Great. So now we have the scene, we have two characters. Let's see, what else? What do we need? I think what I'd like to do is I'd like to distinguish Sapphire's text from Crystal's text. So let's add a couple more lines of dialogue. This is a game created in Ren'Py. It's really easy to do. So you can see if we launch the project that they're both the same color. And I want to kind of distinguish between these two because I think people are going to forget their names are kind of similar to each other. So I want Crystal to be the default text and I want Sapphire to have her own unique text. Cool. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to go into this variable and we're going to add color. Color is going to be a hexadecimal value, and so it can be anything you want. I just randomly chose like a neon pink, but let's see if we wanted to use a color picker. I know sapphires aren't purple, but like purple's a nice color. Let's say we want to do something like that. Let's say crystal is teal and sapphire is a nice purple color. Hey, welcome to the game. Oh, look at that. And now we have text that allows us to see and distinguish each of the characters from each other. Great. All right. Checking my notes here. Okay. So the next part is going to be making choices in the game. So, how are we going to make choices in this game? Mammies, how are we going to make some choices in this game? Don't worry, I'll show you.
Please do.
Let's see. What kind of choice do we want? Let's see. Let's have Crystal ask you. What kind of drink do you like to have in the morning? People in the chat, feel free to give me your favorite morning drink and we'll put it in the choices. And now we're going to do something called menu. And each time that we have a choice, we're going to put, oops, not that. We're going to put a choice in here. Oh, tapioca. That's good. I like that. Ice water. Nice. All right, I'm going to tapioca tea. Babbies, you have any running favorites?
Give me orange juice.
Orange juice. Nice.
Good morning drink.
I will add my own. I love a good Earl Grey tea. Horchata, nice. For those of you not in the know, horchata is a, oh my goodness, why am I blanking on this? Cinnamon and almondy drink.
Yeah.
It's very tasty. All right, so we have 5 choices. Great. And we're going to implement a little dialogue piece for each of them. So, thank you, cinnamon rice milk. I don't know why I was thinking almond. So for each of these, we're going to label them. We're going to label tapioca. And after every piece, or after every like label, we want to do a return. Hold on a sec. I want to make sure that this is underneath this return. Okay, nice. All right, so we have this label, we have this return. We're going to do this 4 times. Okay. Oops. Label water, label orange, label tea, label horchata. Great. So Crystal asks us what our favorite drink is. And maybe Sapphire might say something like, I love tapioca tea. I especially love the taro flavor. And maybe she's going to say something like, I love black sugar tea. Nothing gets me going in the morning better like an ice cold water. And Crystal can say something like, that sounds refreshing. Sapphire can say something like, I like a glass of fresh squeezed orange juice. And Crystal, who maybe doesn't know about orange juice, could say, you can get juice from oranges? All right. So we have each little pieces of dialogue for each of our choices: tapioca water, orange tea, and horchata. So now what we're going to do is we're going to go back to our menu, and we're going to use a function called call. Oops. Oh, I just turned it into Dvorak. Suddenly. Ah, yes, not call, but the Swedish version. Jan.
Yeah, Jan.
All right. Great. Okay. So there are two simple, like two basic types of moving from one code block to another code block. The first is called call, and the other is called jump. So calling will basically do something like this, where it will say tapioca tea, and if we choose tapioca tea, it will call this part only, and when it hits this return, it will end the game. It'll come back to this area and get this return. However, if we go to jump, if we say we're gonna jump tapioca, what's gonna end up happening is it's gonna run this entire piece of code, which is not something that we want to do, but I wanted to tell you that, especially for situations in which you're going to take a branch that's entirely different from, in this situation, the choice is just about flavor text. So we are going to have people saying, I like horchata, and then going back to the actual, end of the game. In fact, before this return, I'm just going to put this is the end of the game so that you know we've reached the end of the game. But it's good to know the difference between a call and a jump. So call is usually used for flavor text when you want people to do one option and then come back into the main branch, and jump is used for you're going off in an actual direction that's going to lead to an ending or a completely different story. Okay. Let's launch it. Uh-oh. And now we're going to talk about debugging your code. So I forgot a thing. What did you forget? I forgot that we needed to use colon at the end of these labels. Very important. There we go. Let's add those colons and then relaunch the project. Line is followed by a block despite not being a menu choice. Oh, the other thing that's very helpful if you're looking for, debugging things is it'll tell you line 43, and then you can go in here. It's kind of like light gray, but you can see, oh, it's line 43 is right here. And yes, indeed, I forgot colons here, which is important too. Okay, let's try that again. Yep, it's loading. All right, welcome to the game. Look at all these drinks we can have. Let's start with the tapioca tea. And then this is the end of the game. Let's start again. Ice water. Yep, it's running our code. Orange juice. Crystal doesn't know about juice from oranges. Earl Grey. And horchata. There you go. So we have successfully implemented a choice, a menu choice, that runs each of these pieces and then ends the game. Cool. So this is essentially what I did for the banana date prototype that I showed you. Cool. So the very last thing that we are going to go over is, one of the other things that I wanted to mention is formatting. So this is how you italicize stuff. This is how you bold things. If you want to do italics and bold. That's how you do it. You can check out like the Ren'Py documentation for more of this. Great. Okay. So the last thing that we need is we need some sound, right? I showed you a Ren'Py game with some sound. So let's go back to itch, and I will show you this free background music for visual novels that I just pulled, and we're using the Bean Feast theme. This is done by Potato Master, and I will also drop that into the chat for everyone. Okay. Great. So let's say that you've downloaded this. I already have this. Ren'Py takes .ogg MP3 and I think uncompressed wave files. I think there might be a few more, but those are the big ones. So I'm going to put them in here. And these are just different types of files. So any file is okay, as long as it's something that Ren'Py recognizes. Okay. So, what we're going to do is it's very simple. It's just play music. And I want to play the music in the shop, like when the shop shows, right? I might even just play it after the shop shows, like so. And let's launch our project. Oh, it's working. Ta-da! So now we've implemented everything that we have implemented in our prototype. Are there any questions from people about how we did any of this stuff? Any questions you want to chat me at all? Do you have any questions, Mavis?
Well, if I'm not jumping the gun on this, how do you have characters make different expressions?
Ah, that's a great question. Let's talk about it. So, in Ren'Py, you can have different expressions assigned to different characters. Now, I currently don't have any characters that will that have like different expressions. Like I just have the happy faces for Crystal and Sapphire. But what you would want to do is you are going to assign a different variable to happy, sad, angry, etc., just like we did with Sapphire happy, Crystal happy, etc., and we are going to show each of these at right or at left, etc. So, give me 1 sec. I'm going to pull up the Ren'Py documentation just to make sure that I am correct in this. I should also note that I am in the process of learning like more sort of like intermediate and advanced stuff with Ren'Py. So there might be some questions that I can't answer. And there also could be like questions that I'll be like, oh, I don't know, I'm going to have to go look it up. Yep. So if we wanted to do something like Crystal happy, Sapphire happy, we have this here. And then we would want to define Sapphire sad. Let's pretend that we had something here. And one of the other things that is good to know is you can show things and you can also hide things as well. So if you wanted to hide Crystal, she can also go away. I will show you that in 1 sec. I'm going to edit this so that we're actually calling these. She didn't even show up. All right, hold on. I think it's because I did show and then hide immediately. Here. All right, she's shown up. And now she's hidden. And we can bring her back whenever we want, just to do show again. Yeah. Okay. So, let's talk about some more advanced stuff. Speaking of expressions. Okay. Oh, Actually, before we get into the advanced thing, I wanted to tell you a couple of troubleshooting tips. So one thing is that let's see if this is going to break the game or not. Will it? No. So when it comes to Ren'Py, I'm kind of used to like indenting my code with the tab button. But Ren'Py's indents are typically done with space bars. And so sometimes when they say like expected character or like if there's an error that gets thrown that says like expected space here or something like that, it means that you're using tab instead of spaces. So that's one thing. The other thing that I find kind of like difficult is I was trained initially off of JavaScript, and so I tend to want to end things with a semicolon instead of a colon, and they look super similar to each other. But if you do a semicolon, it's going to break the game. The good thing is that it tells you this pretty explicitly. Like, this is line 52. Okay, we're on line 52. Expected colon not found. And it'll show you. It will point to your mistake right there. And probably like your game is going to have a lot of bugs the first time that you make it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fine. You just need to troubleshoot it and just like go through each error and try to resolve that error, and eventually your code will run. Again, if you have any problems, feel free to like talk to myself or Mabby's. Okay. I realize that I've been talking for over an hour, and I think it would be a good thing for us to do a 5-minute break, and then I'll get into more advanced techniques. Advanced techniques meaning we're going to talk about how we are going to plan our Ren'Py game, how we're going to design a Ren'Py game, and we're also going to talk about how to create our own characters and how to create characters like and layer things so that you have different types of expressions. And then I'll also very briefly cover animating characters that are 2D characters. Okay, so stick around for that. I will be back in 5 minutes. I'll see you soon. Hello, everyone. Welcome back. I hope you don't mind. I've brought some dinner up with me. We'll have a nice night in together. So, previously, we talked about implementing a prototype game. So now I'm going to talk a little bit more on the creative side of things about how to scope your game or how to think about your game. We currently have a culprit trying to steal my dinner at the moment, who's a tiny cat who is currently on my desk. Oh, now she's walking away from me. Okie dokie. So let's talk about scoping your game. Here's a fun fact. Around Friday is when you're going to have the, sort of most craziest ideas for your game. You're going to say, we're going to do this, we're going to do this, it's going to be amazing. And eventually you're going to narrow down to, one small seed of whatever it is that you want to, accomplish. If you try to accomplish all of these ideas in a game jam, you're going to end up on Saturday seeing that you have a bunch of half-implemented features, and the core concept of the game, or the core kernel of the game, is going to be not finished. And so what I recommend you do is try to take a very small core concept of your game and try to make it into something that's a little bit more polished throughout the weekend. It could be something very, 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 very simple. In the case of our prototype, I was making a small game about two girls going to Tokyo Banana on a date. And that could just be the main premise. But there's a lot of places that could go, right? I think that's a pretty sort of good seed. All right. So most games, there are three different types of game, or four different types of games. There's linear games, and these games are going to be, you start at the start and then you go to the end. There is no choices, no branching in between. By the way, the tool that I'm using right now is Miro, which is a digital whiteboarding tool. There's another type of game called semi-linear, where you have a starting and then you have some branching story points that give you some interesting flavors of the game, but they all kind of end up into the very last story, the last part or the last end. I think many visual novels are like this. Telling a multifaceted story is always can be very difficult, but maybe you have one character and another character, and those characters go on multiple dates, and you can see what kind of dates you're going to go on, but ultimately the ending is the same. The third type is semi-linear with multiple endings. So this is going to be, you start off at an A, you have some branches, maybe some of those branches go into and this is kind of a complex diagram, but just to know you've got now a B ending, a C ending, a D ending, and an E ending. This is a 4 ending game. This is relatively common. This is like I would say that this is what you might consider as like, you know, different types of like visual novels. I'm thinking about like the only thing that's coming to mind right now is Dramatical Murder. But like games like Dramatical Murder, where you have different like dateable options, and then you get to their particular ending, and then that unlocks a different type of ending. If you play through all of the possible endings, you get the actual like true ending. That's a very, 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 very common visual novel experience. So if you unlock like B, D, or B, C, and E endings, you get the D ending, which is actually like the true ending. Very, very common. And then the last type is sandbox. And sandbox is you have a starting point. You may not even have a starting point. It's just there's infinite directions in where you could go. And really just sort of depends on like your creativity as to like some of these endings might even be ones that the developers didn't even like picture or imagine. A lot of times like the endings might be something like B, C, and D, but with some, you know, modifier on it, which makes it a very unique ending. So I've noticed that many people who first start getting into games really like the sandbox games. The like Red Dead Redemption, what am I thinking of? It's the game where you carjack and
Grand Theft Auto?
Thank you, Grand Theft Auto, yes. Yeah. A lot of these games are like you could do literally anything in the world. And there's lose conditions, of course, but like, you know, you can do a lot of different things. I know a lot of people like this. It is very, 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 very hard to implement as an indie dev. And so you have to be very careful that the more endings you're signing yourself up for, the more that you are going to end up being on the hook to write each of these individual endings and make it feel like it's a real ending, not just one that you like kind of tacked on. I don't believe in sandbox for sandbox sake, like giving players a bunch of different options just because you want people to feel like they have multiple options. I think it's good if you're trying to tell a story that you are telling a story in a true and genuine fashion, and that each of the endings should be something that's like somewhat fulfilling to the player in some way, shape, or form. So typically I like the semi-linear with multiple endings or semi-linear games because I think that they're fun and you can tell a really compelling story with them. I've never made a sandbox game before, but yes. Especially for your game jam game, do not make a sandbox game. Try something like semi-linear first and then add in some multiple endings after that. Okay. So those are the types of games that you can make. And we're going to group these. I'll put this over here for now. So you can do this on a whiteboard. You can do this on Miro. You can do this on Google Jamboard. Anything that you want that's like kind of a whiteboarding tool. And all you need to know how to draw is boxes and arrows, because what we're going to do is we're going to plan out the scope of our game. So the prototype that I showed you is a very simple prototype, which is we have a start. We start at the Choco Banana. And then we have 3 different choices. the choco banana, the strawberry sprinkles, and the wasabi banana. So I'm going to go back to the banana date just to show you what the wasabi banana like text looks like, because it's important to what we're about to get into. Okay. So classic chocolate banana and strawberry rainbow sprinkle banana have kind of like a friendly atmosphere to it. But if you choose wasabi banana, isn't that the menu item for dudes to impress their dates? And Sapphire's like, well, I'm not a dude. Are you trying to impress me? Maybe. Crystal blushes. So this text is like maybe a little bit more suggestive that like these two women might be on a date together. So right now the game just ends with these choices, right? You have start here, wasabi banana, and then no matter what you pick, the game ends. That's how the prototype is right now. But let's say that we wanted to like build this out a little bit, and let's say that there's two routes now that we could potentially go towards. One is the friendly route. And maybe there's a dating route. Now, there's two ways that we could do this. One is that we actually, like in Ren'Py, jump to a different code block and just run the friendly route and the dating route. Another possibility is we could have, we could make a variable that any time that you choose something that feels a little bit like date-wise or feels a little bit suggestive, can add a counter to like some date points that you have. And if the date points are over a certain number, say like 3 or something like that, you get a dating ending as opposed to like a friendly ending. But let's say for sake of argument, we have the friendly route and then the dating route. It is, yeah, let's start with that. And let's say that at the end of the dating route, I think it really helps to visualize when you're trying to visualize your game, what the kind of like ending, maybe what potential endings might be. So the beginning is two girls at the Choco Banana, and maybe one of the possible endings is a kiss. And maybe one of the possible endings is let's hang out again soon. Another possible ending could be like a confession, but it's not mutual. So maybe Sapphire says like, I have something to tell you. I really, really like you more than a friend. And then Crystal says, oh, I'm sorry. That's not what I'm into. I think that these are pretty like good, solid endings. So you have, depending on how people want to choose, I would say that the let's hang out again soon and the kiss are both good endings. And depending on what the player wants out of the interaction of either Crystal and Sapphire, can go a more friendly route or go a more like dating route. Cool. So here's where I'm going to grill Mabbies.
Okay.
So if you're out on a date with you didn't think that this was going to happen. If you're out on a date with a person that you thought was kind of cute, but you didn't know if they were like, you know, into dudes, what do you think would be some factors that would lead up to you mutually consensually sharing a kiss together versus you mutually saying like, oh, let's hang out again soon.
Okay.
You didn't realize this was going to be a dating quiz, did you?
No, I did not.
Don't worry, if you don't want to answer it, I'll also answer it too. You don't have to.
I don't know if I have a good answer.
What about holding hands?
That's probably a thing that comes before kissing.
Yeah.
Usually. Not always.
I think you can also hold hand as friends too.
Yeah.
I think that asking is a great pre-kiss activity. Ask someone. Intense eye contact, also hi. Yes, intense eye contact, that's good.
That's important.
Nice. I think in terms of like topics to bring up to a person, maybe one topic would be like you know, a topic that's more friendly might be like, how's school going? Versus something like, how are... Yeah. How's your dating life? By the way, to all like my fellow queer folks in the chat, we know that like we've played this dance before, right? Like this whole like, oh yeah, you know my girlfriend, right? To just sort of like give a little bit of like flag or signal to the other person and then see what they do to respond. Oh yes. Let's see. Yeah, this is... let's see, one more thing. One more thing. What do I want to do? Oh, maybe we'll... I was just thinking to myself that, like, the next conversation after this could be something about, like, Crystal saying something like, oh my god, this guy in our class is, like, such an idiot. And then you can be like, I know, oh my god, but he's so cute. Versus, like, I'm not really that into dudes. Versus... like, what do you think about him or something like that?
Yeah.
You know? Also, thank you for joining the chat. Oh, baby, for I am God. Because I know you know. I know you know. So, yeah. So this is one which is, like... you've got a banana choice. And then this is a topic conversation. That dude at school. Yeah. And I think, like... now that I'm thinking about it, it's probably good for us to implement some variables. So if I were to, like, you know, have a choice to say, all right, I want to implement. I'm basically going to give a dating point, like the value of 1. And say, like, for each choice, this is going to, like, put something up into, you know, for each of these choices, it's going to, like, lead more and more towards this option. I also think, like, this potentially could be... Actually, you know what? I just realized something. Instead of doing 1, 2, 3, we should label these A, B, and C, and then which of these should lean towards one or the other. Okay. So choco banana, strawberry sprinkles, like I said, goes maybe a little bit more towards the let's hang out again soon, and then the wasabi banana is a little bit more towards this. But I would say that like I said, I'm kind of winging it at this point, so just bear with me here. A, B, cool. And then maybe something like this, where we now have an opportunity to do like how's school going versus how's your dating life. Something like this. Man, I don't know how to get into these topic conversations to intense eye contact. That's a pretty big jump. Like asking someone a question and then being like, okay, now I'm going to make really intense eye contact at you. Though I admit that, like, if that were the case, I think it would move more into the like confession, but it's not mutual if someone's like, okay, why are you staring at me? Okay, so this one I think is there's always going to happen. Maybe we can say if we're on, hold on. If we're here, we have let's hang out again soon. This always comes before this. You have an option of having like intense eye contact. If you keep it, then that's points towards C. If you break the intense eye contact, it's a let's hang out again soon. Maybe if you hold hands too soon, it's a like, what are you doing kind of thing. Let's see. Maybe that's what we'll do, is we'll have hold on, I'm thinking about this for a second. So if you try to hold hands, before the intense eye contact, then you get the confession, but it's not mutual. But if you hold hands after the intense eye contact, after it has successfully gone through, then that's definitely like you're on the path to the C path, if you will, the kissing path. I actually think that we don't even need this because I think it's So now this is how our diagram is going to play out, which is a little bit more complicated now, but still doable, I think, within a game jam. So they're going to give you the option of either holding hands or having intense eye contact with this person. And during the intense eye contact, you're going to have the option of either breaking it or keeping it. And if you keep it and then you hold hands with her afterwards, then you get the C ending. If you hold hands before the intense eye contact, it gets weird. And she says, yeah, I'm just not really into you. Like you seem to be into me. This is, this choice will lead into like this choice will lead into this choice and vice versa. And this is kind of how I like plan out and scope out these things. I think that when you are doing a game jam game, I think when we did the game jam game, Matt and Twine, I think we had 3 different endings, right? But like we were very hurriedly doing 3 endings.
Yeah. If I had to give a heuristic, it might be don't write more endings than you have people working on your team. Because then each person could write 1 ending.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's a really good heuristic. Yeah, so if you have a small amount of people, because that's what we ended up doing, is writing like 1 ending per person. But this is an example of what it looks like to kind of like storyboard out. And maybe this is something that, you know, I'll pick up for the game jam. So this gives you an idea of like what kind of variables you need. This also gives you an idea of like what the branching structure or pattern of the game is going to be. And it sets you up for like knowing kind of ahead of time what it is that you need to do. Now, Ren'Py is really good at, I would say that the creation of assets is not so much that big of a deal, because sometimes when you're making assets, you're just making them with, you know, a certain, making them with expressions that can be changed. So if you make 1 asset, you can make multiple assets as long as the expression is changing and you're not necessarily changing the like gestures or anything like that. So I think that Ren'Py in particular, the way that you should scope your game is by doing a diagram like this. Something that can be helpful when you're making a diagram like this is asking yourself, okay, you have these characters, how are they going to respond to each of these? So you could have, we have 2 characters, right? We should probably put them in their respective colors. we have Crystal and we have Sapphire, right? And it's highly likely that we are going to have a smile version of Crystal. I imagine there's a laughing version of her. I also think that there is a like sad or uncomfortable one, given that we have an ending that's confession, but it's not mutual. Maybe if you say like, what do you think about him? And she's like, oh, he's a jerk. Could be angry. Yeah, I definitely think the laughing at, like after the let's hang out again soon and the kiss. Also, we have to have the blushing face. And similarly, I think Sapphire might not need the angry face. Maybe like a thinking face, or like oh, I was gonna say if Sapphire is our main character who's gonna be like putting the moves on Crystal, like a smirk or like a like flirty face. So now you have like an idea of the type of expressions that you want each of your characters to have, just like as sort of a baseline level, right? Crystal has 1, 2, 3, 5 expressions, and Sapphire has about 6 expressions. So, I'm not going to go and build this because we don't have time, but I am going to show you how to make characters with multiple expressions, because that's fun. Okay. One sec. As I set this up. Oh, wow. We are currently mirroring from my iPad, so you're seeing what I'm seeing on the iPad, and we're going to open up Procreate. All right. So Procreate is a tool on the iPad that allows you to sketch freely. I find this to be really easy. I have an 11-inch iPad that I bring with me all the time. It's a really easy way of sketching. You can use a Wacom tablet if you want. I know people who have, really cool Wacom tablets, and it's awesome. I personally prefer to use this. I have, just for the sake of like making sure that this is the right size, I have can you see what the canvas looks like? Okay, you can't see it. I made a custom size that was 1980 by 1080, so that I know that this is going to fit my Ren'Py canvas. All right. So we have those cool characters, and I think they're pretty neat, but I want to draw my own. So I'm going to start by I kind of like characters just in like the bust. Matt, what kind of hair do you want Sapphire to have?
Let's go pixie cut.
Nice. It's good. It's good. Strong. I'll give it like a little curl.
Real cute.
Yeah. All right. Whoops. There we go. And gonna draw. Yeah. That's a nice. Let's see. I guess I like a good school uniform.
A classic.
Classic school uniform. She can have like a little. I love those little ties and like a sweater vest. So cute. I may or may not have a. Everyone loves a good sweater vest, right? Like, that's just not me, right?
Yeah. Get that swift.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Um. So. So now I have this this underlying like drawing, right? And I'm gonna take. Oops. I'm gonna take. Do. Nope. There we go. A 2-finger tap is gonna adjust the opacity, and I want to make the opacity just a little bit like light so that I can go over it with some pen. And again, I'm making this really fast, so like, you know, you can totally I feel like once I draw these characters, I'm going to be very invested in them. It's just a general feeling that I have. So one of the things that you might notice is that I'm purposely not drawing Sapphire's face at the moment, and that's very intentional, and I will tell you why. But for now, I'm going to give her this little... Again, I'm not doing this from like reference or anything, so I'm sure that the posing is a little bit off. Right, so it's a, it's a simple little sweater vest. She's got this little guy right here. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, so we can turn off this layer. And now we have a base layer of the character. Oh, good night, Pero. Thank you for joining the stream. And then what we're going to do is we're going to add the expressions. And the reason why this is good is because it allows us to use the same file over. So if we want to do a happy expression, we can have her have a like happy expression, right? But we can also have her do a laughing expression. One sec. Oh, never mind. I just realized a better way of doing this is to duplicate this and then take the positions on the face, because then that'll make it seem a little bit more natural. So we can erase this. And now we have a laughing face. And similarly, if we wanted to duplicate the same smiling face, oops. This is definitely
sassy smirk.
Yeah, this is definitely the flirty face.
Yeah. Really cute.
And then if we go from there, then maybe we have oops. Something that's a little bit sadder. So just like this, we now have 4 different character sprites that we can export into Ren'Py. And let's see, how much time do we have left? Let me just like
getting close to the end of the stream time.
Yeah, let me quickly go over how to export this. So in Procreate, you're gonna go to share, and you can share it in PSD format, which is what you want to do. And now that you've exported into PSD format, you can put it into Discord, which I highly recommend to do like you can just put it into your team's Discord or something like that, download it straight from there, and that is that's something that like can be done. I just read over Kata's message. Oh my goodness, there's a
green
a 50,000 green, or 50,000 in each 50,000 years. Wow, that's crazy. We've been seeing some really awesome stuff off of our balcony. So yeah, export it into PSD because then it'll keep your layers, and then you can open it up in something. Again, you don't have to use Adobe Photoshop. You can use Affinity if you have Affinity. I think you can also use GIMP. I'm not 100% sure if GIMP supports PSD. Hold on. We have the internet. I can check that out.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. You can edit in GIMP. So yeah, even like a free program like GIMP, you can do that. So then you're going to export it to you're going to export it to PSD, and then you'll import it into your Ren'Py folder as a PNG. And then take that PNG. I would also, by the way, if you wanted to like crop the canvas, this is crop and resize. This might be good to just make sure that the file size isn't too big. I made this the canvas size because I wanted to make sure that this was absolutely like, the resolution I wanted to work with. But I would probably crop it down to just be, like here, Oops. There we go. This is probably how like I would crop it. Cool. So that is how you make your own custom characters. So now I'm gonna run over just a few minutes because I wanted to show you something that I think is really cool. I'm not 100% sure if this is something that you want to do for a game jam, but it is something that's really neat that I've been thinking a lot about recently. So I introduced to you the concept of like putting things on multiple layers, right? There is a really cool program called Live2D that takes 2D drawings and turns them into animated characters. And this is something that if you've ever played Doki Doki Literature Club, there's Doki Doki Literature Club Plus. Doki Doki Literature Club Plus uses Live2D to draw the characters and make them seem like a little bit more animated. But personally, like, this is like just huge game changing when it comes to making visual novels that feel very realistic or feel like the characters are alive and that they're talking to you. So just so you know, the way that you would make one of these sprites is similar to the way that I told you you put things on multiple layers. You would want to put anything that is going to move on multiple layers. So for instance, if you notice Hatsune Miku's hair is moving back and forth, this hair would be on one layer. You would have her eyes on another layer. You would have her mouth on another layer. And the way that Live2D works is if you tuned in for Matt's Blender session, you will know that there's like a UV map to things. Things have like vertices and stuff. And so what Live2D does is if you import a PSD into Live2D, it will give you the option to map out vertices, and it will turn your 2D object into a 3D object that you can like skew. And this is just 2D skewing that's happening right now. So it's not making it 3D per se, but it is skewing it to the point where it feels like it's a 3D thing. Similarly to this, if you notice in the animation here, her face is not actually like warping. Her face isn't actually like moving that much. It's moving in a circular pattern, but it's the eyes and the mouth that are moving in place of the face, making it seem like it's a 3D thing. So this is something that's really, really cool. I highly recommend you check it out. First time that I dug into this, it took me about 8 hours to like fully rig a model and like have it move and everything. So it is not game jam like appropriate, but it's something for after the game jam. If you're thinking about, oh, I want to make this like very real to life, I want to bring this to life, this is a really cool way of doing it, and it's a really great way of doing it. This is also a like...
This is also a really great segue for, I wanted to mention for folks, our other live stream sessions were all recorded and they're available online.
Yes. Mabbies, can you share a link to them?
Yes.
Mabby's going to share a link.
I got 2 links.
One
for
love
Josiah's session with making Pico 8 games. One for my session on Blender.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you, Mabbies. And you can go check those out. The VOD of this will also be up as well as we're going through this. And like Kata said, if you have never played a Vanillaware game, this is how they do 3D animations. And it's just stunning. Like, it's really beautiful. The way that, like, just a small 2D animation can go a really long way. So yes, to recap, we have gone through making a very basic game. We've talked about how to build a Ren'Py game, how to plan out a Ren'Py game, how to scope it, how to look at things and say like, okay, what assets do I need? How to make those assets. On Procreate, you can do it on Photoshop. It doesn't matter. The idea here is like you want to build it fast and light. So even if you have like a light sketch like this character, I would not, this is not my best work. Like, you know, the character that I showed you is not my best work. However, it's good for putting an asset in the game. And more so than anything in a game jam, you want a runnable game. Even if the artwork's not great, just to have a runnable game is really good. So highly recommend starting off rough and then taking the time to kind of like build it up over time. And then we talked about Live 2D, about animating. That's sort of an after game jam thing. Are there any questions from the chat? Any questions about Ren'Py? Any questions about drawing? Any questions about getting free assets, scoping your game? Anything that you want to ask me at all? I will wait and eat my dinner a little bit as you're doing that. Okay. No questions in the chat?
All right. Well, if you have questions later,
Mm-mm.
bring them with you to the game jam.
Yep.
We'll see you there.
Yep. Yeah, if you have questions, feel free to ping me. I'm on Twitter at itsillumines. I usually use co-host nowadays, so if you want to like chat me on co-host or just like an email or something like that, it's all good. So for those of you who have signed up for the game jam, I'll see you tomorrow. Yes, the game jam starts. Doors are open at
5:30.
yes.
5:30 at Code Chrysalis in Lotozabu.
Yep. And the uh, the doors are going to open at 5, and then the presentations will start at 6:30. So if you want to come at 5:30, you'll have an opportunity to like mingle and hang out and talk with people. Cool. All right. Everyone have a lovely night. Thank you to everybody who showed up on the stream. Thank you to everybody who is coming. I'm really excited to meet everybody and to say hi. And I will see you tomorrow. I hope that we have a really great and successful Global Game Jam. All right. Take care, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.
Good night.